D&D/community stream. Normally, every other Tuesday, we are playing Dungeons and Dragons, and we invite you to play alongside us. We are a team of diverse voice actors and creatives and artists, and we are always looking for ways to improve our voice acting skills through role playing. And if you go to our workshops, obviously practicing hands-on with our roster of anime and voiceover professionals. We're just going to talk a little bit today about some of the upcoming events we have going on and ways that you can get involved playing D&D with us. I'd like to welcome Gavin, who's joining us on the stream, who's one of our game masters. Hi, Gavin.
Hey, how's it going, Austin?
Gavin, what have you been up to? What kind of projects are you working on?
Um, in the voice acting thing, not much. I'm just going through the courses. In my free time. Uh, I'm pretty busy musically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a couple of bands, so
Oh my gosh, a
uh,
couple?
yeah. Well, one I play brass, and the other I play guitar and sing. So, um, very different experiences, but um,
So you
yeah,
said you sing?
yeah.
That's amazing. What kind of songs do you guys do?
So the one project I've got with the guitar, it's right now we're kind of doing like 2000s metalcore covers,
Okay.
um, things like Kill Switch Engage and 3 Days Grace and um, some of the early 2000s stuff in that vein,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
some Disturbed, but yeah, we haven't started writing any originals yet. That's probably in the pipes. Just feeling out. It's a new crew, so feeling out everybody and trying to get um, a vibe for
Have you
what
guys?
we
So you
want to
guys
play. And
for that band, you guys are in the practicing stages, or have you started
yeah,
booking gigs?
yeah,
Yeah.
practicing primarily.
Do you have? Are you a writer, a songwriter?
I dabble. I mostly do um, like techno kind of EDM, um, like dark house stuff.
Hmm.
Personally, I did a lot of that for my podcast. Just writing like programmatic, you know, background music that could easily be inserted underneath a scene
Yeah.
that I was doing with my crew, and then uh, so I don't like I don't write lyrics very well,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even though I'm a singer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, but there's a couple of really strong songwriters in the group. I'm excited. It's a very musical bunch.
As far as composing for those long form, like we have done lots of podcast production in the past through the studio, Strawberry Hill Studio, and I always find that composing for podcasts is quite difficult, just because of the kind of like repetitive long form kind of music that it necessitates. I think that composing for something like a D&D podcast, like your podcast with the Roll Warriors, would be a lot more fun than a podcast. But I was always like, maybe we should just do some library stuff here.
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of for that. It's an interesting sort of scenario because for one thing, I'm like writing the narrative
Mm-hmm.
at the same time as I'm composing the music, and so oftentimes like I'll come away from us having recorded a session because none of it's like live. We do pre-recorded sessions. I do a lot of post-production to make sure that the episodes feel good, sound good. They're not like there's not huge sections of just us reading rules, you know.
Right. Right.
So I take all that fluff out and just leave kind of the good nuggets of action and stuff like that. So I'll have a feel for how the scene went in my head, and gives me a lot of ideas about stuff that I can do, like 2 or 3 minutes of music, kind of just like to set the tone. and then have that fade into the background and play out the rest of the scene with no music.
Oh, so you're doing like 2 to 3 minute pieces where it's the focus is on the music itself, and then you're transitioning into the scene.
I will do 2 to 3 minute pieces that sit underneath a scene that sort of set a tone. So that the idea is that it's like the music is serving the narrative, but it's not the focus ever. But then I will come back to that music to do a scene transition. And then that is front and center, right? It's like 10 seconds of the music just kind of to break up the scenes and separate it in the audience's mind, because we're not getting like a screen wipe.
Yeah one of the podcasts that we were doing through the studio was it was a legal podcast, but the gentleman who was doing it also was in a rock band, like a 70s 80s kind of cover band-ish.
Nice.
And so he kind of used it as an opportunity to also like expose the listeners to his music. And so that would be like, I was editing the podcast, and so I'd edit in like the instrumental parts of his rock music, like in between sections.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do any D&D or fantasy or sci-fi. You're really more sci-fi for Role Warriors, though. If you do any, I guess techno qualifies for that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, the first season was like a cyberpunk red campaign, so I had a lot of like kind of dark house stuff that I always my goal is to write music that you could kill 16-bit vampires to on a side scroller, so like very Castlevania with a techno wash. I'm thinking like Blade.
Yeah
But that's the vibe for that. But then you'll have some more like kind of like deep emotional music, because cyberpunk and other like science fiction stories are very like person driven, very like small microcosms narratives. Your party of adventurers are regular people just kind of like trying to live day to day in a job that they hate, and not so much saving the world against evil, although there can be elements of that, but I like to kind of mix the two. Second season is very much more science fantasy, because it's a space odyssey, so it's the Star Wars, Star Trek. They're traveling through space. There's actually Battlestar Galactica is probably a closer sort of aesthetic choice, but it's very like big dramatic set pieces with lots of grandiose characters, space wizards, and
wow, sounds like you did a real 180.
Yeah, giant gunship battles and things like that, as opposed to
drastic changes in scale. That reminds me of have you ever read the first Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book?
Oh, absolutely. I love Douglas Adams.
Yeah,
huge inspiration.
Me too. I'm a huge fan. That reminds me of the contrast between season 1 and season 2 is like the opening chapter of the book, where the main character is on Earth and he's living his life and he's working his job that he hates, and he comes home and there's this bulldozer just sitting in front of his house, and they're like, yeah, we're fixing to demolish this because we're going to build a freeway. He's like, well, this is not going to stand. So he lays down in front of it. And then meanwhile, this intergalactic construction crew is preparing to demolish Earth to make room
for the same purpose. Yeah.
It's a really good piece of storytelling. It's always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Those of you who are tuning in, I see there's some people on Twitch. There's some people on X. Feel free to join us on Zoom. The link is in the chat. We're going to be talking a little bit longer about some of the ways that you as a community can get involved in what we're doing. Like I said, I'll switch us over to a browser view here. I'll switch us over to a browser. Like I said, we have been running Dungeons and Dragons pretty consistently. So let's take a look at some of our upcoming D&D streams. The next one is looks like it's on September 17th, so that's 2 Tuesdays from now. By the way, we're always streaming Tuesdays at 5:30. But this next D&D stream is going to be run by Gavin, and we have some signups for that already, but there's still some seats available. Gavin is running his refuge campaign. And that's been really fun. We did that 2 weeks ago with a couple of guys, and that was just a blast. We had Denkles, if you're familiar, any of you at home are familiar with actually I can pull up Gavin, I'm not showing this to you right now, but Gavin, I'm not showing this to you right now. Denkles,
Oh, you're good.
Denkles.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, he's a YouTube and TikTok. He's a YouTube and creator here, and he joined us for the game, which was a huge. It was just a ton of fun.
Yeah, he's a character. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a character.
Great guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a character.
So that was really great. We've got a few more D&D streams scheduled throughout the year, but that's not the only thing we do. We've got tons of other stuff going on. In fact, the bulk of our workshops are voiceover workshops with the likes of Karen Strassman from Code Geass, Sonic, Persona 3, Andrea Toyes, casting director for StarCraft, World of Warcraft, Diablo. So these are workshops coming up on the horizon. The soonest one coming up is with Tiana Camacho, who is a voice actor in Pokemon, Cookie Run, and Street Fighter. And she's doing an intensive on the business of voiceover. She's going to be talking about her experience getting into the business. So that one is coming up just in 17 days, and we still have spots available for that. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to drop them in the chat there. Make sure no one's. Make sure answering all your questions here. Okay. And I will provide a link. Provide a link to all these upcoming events. In the chat. There you go. This is a link to all of our upcoming events. Right. And actually the most soon back to Zoom. Okay. Next week we're streaming again one of our community streams. I believe Scarlett, those of you who know Scarlett, is going to be running a trivia night. I'll have to double check with her. I think it was Pokemon trivia. So we'll see about that. But if you have any questions about how to get involved in the workshops or the streams, the easiest way to get involved, let me just say, is just to pick up a membership for a month and experiment with going to one of the workshops because you get a discount on them, and watching the archive of all of our workshops because we record them all and we make them available for our members, so you can see not just Karen Strassman and Tiana Camacho, but let me pull up this. Sometimes I like to just scroll through these. Dating back all the way from, I think we started in 2021. Yeah, it was kind of a pandemic thing. We started getting these together. Yeah, it was kind of we have Mark Allen Jr. recording. Morgan Berry, who also has a course that we have partnered with her for. Jameson Price. Jameson Price, a few Karen Strassman. She's been really great. Karen Strassman, Heather Gonzalez, a few Karen Strassman, Heather Gonzalez. So definitely, get started by picking up a membership, and I'll drop a link. Get started by picking up a. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll stay on the line here for a few more minutes. Feel free to drop in and feel free to know what you're thinking and say hi. Feel free to know what you're thinking and say hi. Feel free to know what you're thinking and say hi.
Not gonna let this tea go to waste. Not gonna let this tea go to waste. Not gonna let this tea go to waste. It's my throat soother. So I was prepared for lizard throat noises.
Oh yeah, that is an
Lizard throat
epic
noises.
voice that you do.
Oh,
for
yeah,
Richie, I must
that
say.
is an epic voice that you do.
Oh
for
yeah,
Richie.
impresses
That
me
is
every
an
time.
epic voice.
So yeah, I can see why
Quite
you need
straining,
that.
yeah.
That throat coat.
Yeah,
I can see why
quite
you need
straining
that.
up, yeah.
That throat coat.
Quite straining up, yeah.
Jameson Price does a whole workshop on vocal health.
Yeah.
Vocal health. Yeah, he has this whole technique
Yeah.
down. He maintains his voice, and he's got one of those deep voices. So I'm sure that. Oh yeah, the one he did recently was how to age your voice. So he's talking about how to make yourself sound younger, how to make yourself sound older. But for those of you at home who haven't heard it, Gavin has a dragonborn voice that is quite guttural, kind of like. Those of you at home who haven't heard it, Gavin has a dragonborn voice that is quite guttural, kind of like.
Orochi the serpent that stalks the reeds. Orochi the serpent
There it is.
that stalks
I'm
the
usually a
reeds.
little bit more
Orochi the
rascally.
serpent
Yeah, that one was a bit more
I'm
sinister,
usually a little
which
bit
is like
more,
great for an introduction, and then of
rascally.
course in practice when you're actually playing D&D,
that one
was
is
a bit more
usually- I'm
sinister.
usually- Yeah.
Which is like inevitably it becomes. And then of course
We're just
in
idiots
practice,
throwing
actually
fishes
playing
on
D&D.
on bridges.
Inevitably,
so-
fishes on bridges.
We're just idiots throwing fishes on
True story.
Yeah.
That was
Images,
one of the
so-
fishes on bridges.
We're just idiots throwing fishes on. Great band name. I'm actually gonna steal
That was
that.
one of the fishes on bridges.
We're just idiots throwing fishes on. Great band
Fishes
name. I'm
get
actually gonna
stitches.
steal
That was
that.
one of the fishes on bridges.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Great band
fishes
name. I'm
get
actually gonna
stitches.
steal that.
I see that quite a few of you are tuning in from home. And
Great band
hopefully,
name, I'm actually gonna steal
my
that.
explanations
I see
were completely sufficient because I don't see any comments. Do check out those links. Listen to Gavin's Role Warriors podcast. I linked that as well. And join us Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time for community streams and for Dungeons and Dragons for community. Gavin, any parting thoughts?
I don't know. I actually have yet to do a workshop just because they usually are on Saturdays and I work those days. But I'm still waiting for that perfect one that hits the sweet spot where I have the day off, and it's a topic that I'm like, I need to be in there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I do go through the archives, and it's a great tool, even if you can't catch the live one.
There you have it, folks. Alrighty. Well, I will see you next week. Not next week, but in 2 weeks. Of course, you're welcome to the community stream, but for your refuge campaign.
Yeah, and you will be reprising your role. So if you join the refuge campaign, you get to play alongside Austin as a player.
That's right.
Plays Sergei the diviner cleric.
Yep. I will heal you. I will be there to support. Keep things running smoothly as best I can. It is a bit of a scary situation that we have found ourselves in. So be prepared for some. It's good timing now that we're getting into autumn. Of course, here in California in Marin today it was like 90 degrees, but before that,
I live in the Midwest and it's been 95 pretty much every day. So it's not a geographical locale sort of situation. It's hot.
Yeah,
it's hot out there.
It is widespread, and even still, I'm happy for the spooky autumn aesthetic that we're brewing up with that campaign. So let me know if you have any questions about that. I'll drop our email in here as well. Feel free to reach out anytime. It's probably me you're talking to. Not all the time. And with that, I will bid everyone adieu. Good evening, Gavin, and good evening, folks at home.
Night, everybody.